Ah,
Yeah.
see, that's fast. I mean, it's
Well,
it's
yeah,
like,
30 miles. I probably drove 45 miles an hour average. So that takes about 45 minutes. Yeah.
yeah, it's not so bad.
Anyway, Steve will be happy to know that we're ready to go.
Okay.
So we can go ahead. You got his number there? Or do you want
Yeah, I found your email.
Gotcha.
All right. So you give him a call now?
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you do that? And we'll do our little thing beforehand. And
Oh.
how about those Warriors last night?
Oh man, I was watching it. I like Bergeron, but he's got to get into their system.
Oh, yeah. It's going to take him a while.
Yeah.
Going to take him a while.
I definitely was impressed with Bowden this time. He played
Yeah,
really well.
they're going to be tested without him. But if Festus Ezeli doesn't come back, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. All right, let's try this again. That's what I'm looking for. Hello. Hi, Steve. This is Edward Brown and Bruce McGowan.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, how you doing? Good. You ready to have some fun with us? Okay. Okay.
That's good.
And by the way, Steve, would I be able to get like a headshot if I just, let's say, Google your name?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are. Yeah, I had on a couple of really desperate. I got one on my laptop or my desktop, and I probably would send you. But
Okay.
yeah, you should be able to find one. I'm thinking.
Okay. Very good. And Bruce, what topics do you want us to?
Well, I was thinking, since Steve mainly covers college basketball and baseball, we could kind of stick to that.
Sure.
Start with college basketball because, the stretch
Right.
drive of this March Madness coming up and then get into spring training and all that stuff. So,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
a good time.
You guys all set?
We are. And with Steve, what we have to do is we have to record a little quick intro and then we get right into you. So just hang in there just a
Just
second.
hang in.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Here we go. Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. This is the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. Today's show is going to be really fun. Why, Bruce?
Well, we got a friend of mine from many years here in the San Francisco Bay Area who has covered sports both in television and in the newspaper business, Steve Kroner, who is going to talk some college basketball and spring training baseball.
Because you got some March Madness coming up here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I want to ask Steve when he comes on in the next segment about Tennessee, what's going on there, how that's going to affect all the rankings and everything. All right, at each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question, and the first email with the correct answer is going to win a free free vacation to the Lighthouse Resort. It's a 2-night stay there. The vacations are free. Their only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover those housekeeping expenses. Check them out at lighthouseresortandmarina.com. And let's see here. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding over 8%, secured by real estate. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. You got to check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. By the way, Bruce, the Warriors, fastest team to 50 games.
Yeah, 51-5 as we speak. That could change, of course, over the weekend. They play at Oklahoma City, but we'll just see. It's an amazing story. I mean, we're not seeing this kind of a team in the NBA very often, and you have to enjoy it while it's there.
Quick question for you. Think they could have beaten the Bulls?
That's always the nettlesome question. I don't know. I'd have to go with the Bulls just because of 6 championships.
That's true.
Yeah, Warriors have only won 1. Bulls won 6.
What was it? Was it Bill Cartwright? He was the center back then, wasn't he?
He played with them. They of course they had Pippen and Jordan and a lot of other people. They had a great supporting cast. It's hard to believe that was 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago.
And an unknown named Steve Kroner.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty good outside shooter.
Not so unknown anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. When we come back, we're going to have Steve Kroner from the San Francisco Chronicle on the air with us. All right, so that's our first little segment. Thanks so much for hanging out with us while we do that.
No problem.
Then we come in.
By the way, I think Parkland, he was on their
First three titles. Yeah, there you
Gotcha.
go. I was thinking the same thing. I just got out of the ocean, so my brain is kind of on at a slow speed.
Just saving the file here.
Yeah, there's some really nice surf these last 4 days. I've been out 3 times, and it was just spectacular out here in Western Marin today. Just beautiful.
So who was their big man?
Who is the big man for the last 3
Bulls?
title teams?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Well, Bill
Whittington.
Whittington.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
From
they had Horace Grant and Ron.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Horace
that's right,
Grant.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Rodman was such a strange player too, because they called him the Worm because he always found a way inside to get those.
And amazing. Because how tall is he? 6'8"?
Yeah, 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah, but boy, he was a
Strange, but
beast.
great
when it
player.
comes to those, rebounds.
All right.
Especially when he was wearing his wedding dress.
Didn't get enough attention when he was a kid.
I guess not.
No.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Bruce, our guest, is with us.
Yes, and Steve Kroner was a sports producer for many years for KPIX, which is the CBS affiliate in San Francisco, and has been working as a sports writer for the San Francisco Chronicle, the number one paper in Northern California. Steve covers college basketball and Major League Baseball, and right now he's in the middle of covering college basketball, and particularly St. Mary's, which is a small school out here on the West Coast, but a very, very good program that has been up in the national rankings for some time. Got to start with that, Steve.
Yeah, why is that?
Tell us a little bit about St. Mary's, because for those people who are listening, a lot of our national audience doesn't even know where St. Mary's is, and yet every year they seem to have a pretty competitive team led by Coach Randy Bennett.
People outside of the Bay Area don't know where Milwaukee, California.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, for the Ramsey County folks, the hope they built from Oakland and Berkeley, but Randy Bennett has done an amazing job. His 15th season with the Gales, he took over the program, he inherited that had gone 27
Wow.
the previous year, and the past, I believe, 8 years in not either the NCAA or the NIT full-time team. He has done a great job of recruiting Australian players who are in the NBA now. Matthew Dell with Dover with Cleveland and Patty Bill with San Antonio. So Randy's got it rolling. They are tied for first with Gonzaga, and they beat Gonzaga twice in the regular season for the first time since 1995. Gives them a leg on next to the
We look at college basketball out here on the West Coast, and not a great year. Oregon is in the top 25. So too, I believe, is Arizona, and St. Mary's has got a shot at making it to the tournament, of course. But what you think it's just one of those anomalies, Steve, that this is not, because over the years we've had some amazing teams come out of the West, and this has not been one of them.
You know what's weird? You look at the Pac-12. I think top to bottom is actually a very good top. At the very top, there's not. So there's a time when UCLA obviously had its run, and Arizona has had its run. Oregon not quite to that level, but there have been some great teams on the West Coast. I don't think the Pac-12 is quite as good as maybe we thought it was going to be at the beginning of the season. Cal was really predicted to do very well. They kind of struggled to get some of theirs now. It's won 5 in a row that right in their ship. But I think a good year top to bottom Pac-12 is not a great year at the very top.
I was going to ask you about St. Mary's, Catholic school. Why do you think that they're able to? I mean, does anything have to do with the Catholic school aspect that they get some decent players?
Yeah, I really don't think that has anything to do with it.
Okay.
I think if players are looking for an area of the country that's cosmopolitan, the Bay Area certainly would like to think it is, and I think it is, but still have kind of a small collar atmosphere within that cosmopolitan area, that's a pretty good sell. Campus is not big, it's beautiful. And, if you're coming from Australia, it's at least as close as you're probably going to get if you fly either to LA or San Francisco, as close as you can be for Australia.
It's still 19 hours, but
I think you can sell the fact that you're in the Bay Area, you can make connections, you're in a small school, so you're not overwhelmed. Some kids, whether they're from this country or not, some kids are better suited for big school, some kids are better suited for a small school. If you're a kid better suited for a small school, then you better sell you on the Gale.
Steve Kroner is joining us. Steve is a sports writer for the San Francisco Chronicle, covers college basketball and Major League Baseball. And I'm looking at some of the top 25 teams this year, and we've got Xavier of Cincinnati, we've got Oklahoma, we've got North Carolina, of course. Duke is within range, although they're number 15. But it's kind of a tough field to pick this year. Who's going to be the team that makes it all the way to the Final Four and wins the whole thing? Do you have any ideas, Steve? Because March Madness is not that far away, and it's always fun because that is such a unpredictable situation where you have one and done, and it's really the most exciting, in some respects, the most exciting couple of weeks in sports.
There's my dad got that people gave me a lot of good advice. One bit of advice is the more you know, the more you know you don't.
exactly.
So it would be really hard to say, hey, I know these four teams are going to be in the Final Four. I think nationally, kind of, it's pretty similar to what the Pac-12 is. I think nationally there are a lot of teams that are not that one great team. Last year that went on does not, Duke is not quite. If you're looking from the teams maybe that are playing best down the stretch, and look boy, we have a lot of things. I would say maybe Kansas and North Carolina, but I mean that's please don't bet your college.
Yeah, but what's always fun is when you see like Butler or George Mason. You get these smaller schools that just kind of go up the ranks. It's great.
Well, it's kind of like St. Mary's, isn't it, Steve? I mean, you get these teams that are unheralded, but they've got a great program, and anybody who follows college basketball closely enough knows that they're in the mix.
Well, it's the great equalizer of college basketball that the NBA rarely does a team that's not expected to reach the NBA finals. Get to the NBA finals, you have to win 4 games in each series. But in college basketball, all you have to do is one.
Yeah.
Win that series. So if the team is cold, if your team is hot from the 3-point arc, a lot of things happen. People would perceive as strange, but really aren't that strange.
One of the things that we talked about, I remember we talked about this last year, was, so for some of these smaller schools to get, into the NCAA tournament, it costs them a lot of money. And it's kind of good and bad news at the same time because, if there's a team that is not really expected to win, how do they value that? It costs them like $1 million to start getting into the tournament. You know what I mean?
I don't think you got that quite right, John.
Okay, go ahead.
In the tournament, the NCAA leads. So what it can't be is tournaments that are second and third tier tournaments, the CBI and the CIT, those tournaments where the team has to see the game to get into the tournament. But if you're in the NCAA tournament, that's all over. Depends how far you get in the tournament, how far you go in the tournament, and that then is divvied out amongst your conference tiers for most teams.
So I got to figure out who's the one who gave us the bad information last year.
You got me.
No, it wasn't you.
There's nothing bad about it.
Interesting.
Steve, you think there are too many teams in the tournament, though? Because, I mean, it just seems like everybody is getting in nowadays. And I remember, you and I are old enough to remember, and Edward too, that not that many years ago it was 32 teams. And all of a sudden now it's 64. Now you have the play-in game. It just seems like almost every team that is reasonably efficient and, a little better than 500 is going to get in the tournament.
Yeah, soon they're going to call it the Sweet 116.
I'm not quite as against that as these guys are leading. This way, there are, I believe, 351 Division I college basketball programs.
Wow.
There are 351. How many teams make the NCAA tournament now? Go to the NIT and the CBI and the CIT, and then there's another one year in Vegas, you add up all those, and you're probably getting close to 150 teams. But there are 68 teams out of 351, right?
Yeah, that's not much. I mean, actually, I'm not against it. I like to have a good field. Tell you what, Steve, stay with us for a second. We have to cut to another commercial break here. Our trivia theme is miscellaneous sports trivia. All right, ready? And now, Steve, if you know the answer to this, don't answer it now because when we cut to break, if you know the answer, we'll let you answer it. Okay?
Okay, fair enough.
All right. What distance is the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Oh, jeez.
And
Horse racing.
You don't have to, horse racing. You don't have to say in feet.
Okay.
Okay. So again, what distance is the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Wow. Okay.
All right. The first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to that question one more time. What distance is the Breeders' Cup Classic? All right. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan and our guest Steve Kroner from the San Francisco Chronicle. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back.
All right, Steven, we'll do one more segment with you about baseball. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And then that should get you on your way because I know
I
you
would
got.
like to ask before we do about Tennessee.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
just on
okay.
the
And then we can kind of segue
we'll go
into
to
the baseball.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. And you're going to be kind of backing up Susan and Henry again this year, huh?
Yeah, you know, I lost some of that gig for various reasons. I'll still be doing it, but not as much as I was. I lost kind of the middle of last year.
Yeah.
That's frustrating, but so it goes. But I'll still be doing some.
Well, we enjoy it. I mean, I think I know it's been a tough transition to go from broadcasting to writing, but you know, I think you do a nice job, and yeah, you know, it's Chronicle still is the most popular paper in the area, so you're working for a good company there.
Yeah, I'm going to be going down March 11th.
Oh, you're going to go to spring training?
Yeah.
Good, okay.
Yeah, Christian, my son and I are going to go.
Nice,
So it'll be really
nice.
fun.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. When we come to the second commercial break, first trivia question, we asked this question: what distance is the Breeders' Cup Classic?
God, I haven't a clue. Steve, you have any idea?
This is a fairly educated guess. I'm not very college. I'm going to go with a mile and a half.
Very close, 1.25 miles.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 1 mile and 3/4, but I would have been way off.
Very good.
Okay.
So, Steve Kroner from the San Francisco Chronicle. One quick question about March Madness, and then we'll move on to baseball. What's going on with Tennessee and their coach, and how's that going to affect anything?
No, that's a good question. And to be honest, I really don't know much that situation. I know if there's a sexual harassment suit that's involved in the program, I don't know what that's going to mean in terms of what the volunteers do, men and women, in the NCAA tournament. I mean, I'm not privy enough to enough information to make a really valid assessment there.
Unfortunate situation, to say the least. Well, speaking of good fortune, those of us who love baseball are so happy that spring training is arrived, and always hope in the air. It seems like almost every team, with the rare exception, feels like it's got a chance. And I would think, Steve, let's talk a little bit about the National League. First of all, the teams to beat. Obviously, the Giants are coming off of a good offseason where they've improved their pitching with Johnny Cueto and Jeff Samardzija. The Mets have that great young pitching staff, and the Cubs last year, finally turned a corner. Would those three teams be the teams that you would sort of pick?
Don't forget, Bobby Evans guaranteed, since this is an even year, that the Giants are going to win it all.
Oh, did he say that to us?
Yeah,
okay.
he did.
All right. But what's your yeah? Well, what's your assessment of the National League, first of all? Because those three teams seem to be the ones to kind of watch. Of course, you can't discount the Dodgers and Arizona as well.
Yeah, and I've always impressed by the way St. Louis finds a way to keep itself in the mix. But if I had to pick one team right now, I would go with the Cubs. See what they did last year as a young team, a team that theoretically was a year or two away. They weren't a year or two away. They were just a few outs away, maybe, or one series away against the Mets. I think right now the Cubs are the favorite. It wouldn't be any huge surprise to the Mets, the Giants, or I think the Mets and Giants would be the next level team I would go with. Then the Dodgers and Arizona just below the Giants and the Mets. But right now, as we sit here in late February, it's hard for I'm sure those North Siders to comprehension. Haven't won a World Series in 108 years, but
Yeah.
it's up to the paper.
Isn't that amazing?
I know.
That just seems.
Bruce, did you cover all that?
Well, especially
It feels
you know,
like it,
they didn't
yeah.
have that many teams. You know,
Yeah.
as many teams.
Well, they
way
had
back when.
16 teams in those days, but the Cubs, the last time they were in a World Series was 1945.
Yeah.
So they've come so close.
Yeah.
What do you like in particular about the Cubs? Is there any one thing? You know, they've got so many good young pieces in that team.
Yeah, you know, I like their offense. I like their pitching. I mean, I'm not like really I can't think of their lead after defense, but they're Rizzo and the rest of that group, Chris Bryant, they can hit the ball out of the park. Pitch. Joe Madden has been quite a manager over the past decade or so. They've got a lot of pieces in place.
You know, the last time they won it was Tinker's Devers to Chance, wasn't it? Are they
again.
still around? Maybe the infield could come back. You know, I guess they need it.
Well, and then the Mets.
Our Gonfalon bubble.
There you go. Pricking our Gonfalon bubble. And, you know, and then the Mets, of course, with this young pitching staff. I mean, it looks like 4 or 5 guys that are going to be around for maybe 10 years each if they can stay healthy.
Yeah, Bruce, you and I know that the last part was really key in terms of pitching, meaning that as great as young staffs in the media can look, pitching is the one area that you really are very concerned about health. So, with Syndergaard and the rest of that group, those guys all look pretty impressive, but pitching is such a valued commodity, and there's all this talk over the past 10 years or so. Are pitchers being safety, or are they being protected wisely? And it comes line to walk, but the reason that Mets pitching staff looks right now, I think I would hesitate to say it's going to be great 5-10 years from now. But you guys don't have to worry about that. Coming into this season, that pitching staff is awfully impressive.
You know, as a Giants fan, I'm very glad that they got Cueto. I think he's going to add a big boost. To
The thing that fascinates me about Cueto, Steve, is you watch him. He's got that violent motion, which leads me to believe maybe he'd break down. But thus far, he's been fairly healthy. And the thing I like about him is he's got a very colorful personality, and he adds a little flash to that team, which they haven't had in a while.
Yeah. There's some guys that
Hunter Pence.
Well, that's true. I shouldn't be. Yeah, that's true. Well, and Sandoval when he was here. Yeah. Tim Lincecum. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Is what's going to happen with Lincecum?
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? Are they going to re-sign him, or is he going elsewhere? Because he wants a chance to start. It doesn't look like there's any chance to get into that rotation.
Yeah. Again, that will not return to the Giants. But I think it's kind of a catch-22. When he has his show, he looks really good. There are going to be teams that are going to want him as a starter. On the Giants today, Matt Cain was found to have a cyst removed, so maybe that his starter spot isn't as solid as the Giants thought it was. But thinking that he does well in his showcase, there'll be teams that he's starting pitching more than the Giants will offer him quite a bit.
Yeah, but he did so well as a middle reliever the last couple of years. You know, he kind of lost it being a starting pitcher.
Well, again, it's all your perspective. And, I'm not Tim Lincecum. I'm not sure. I'm guessing Tim Lincecum still believes he's a starter. And until proven otherwise, he'll kind of be his mindset.
You know, the thing that intrigued.
If he does well, and somebody offers a starting spot, I don't think Giants can catch him on a contract.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
And if he doesn't pitch that well, and the Giants might take a flyer on him in the bullpen, he might not want to do that himself. So stranger things have happened. But if I had to guess, my guess would be that if he's pitching in the major leagues this season, we'll be pitching for a team that's not the Panthers.
How much do they have to pay him this year?
Well, he's the free agent, so they could pay him whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal. That's why.
Yeah.
They'll have to show these.
The thing about him, though, Steve, is he's never had any arm problems. It's always been with a hip or that strange stride. That's why they call him the freak. I would think picking up Cueto, though, not only and Samardzija not only adds to the front end of that rotation, but that kind of moving over to the American League, that kind of is a big blow to Kansas City. Kansas City's coming off of World Series championship, but they didn't really add as much, if anything, they kind of lost a little bit. How do you see them coming back this year? Do you think they're going to
I
be?
still think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're able to re-sign Alex Ford to their offense. Go back to the Royals offense in the late '80s when they were kind of the fast guys on turf, Billy Wilson, Frank White, that group. Their offense is getting done a lot of ways, and even if their pitching is not really in the rotation, their bullpen is still pretty darn good too. Until somebody knocks it off, Royals again. They won the World Series last year. They got to the World Series the previous year, went 9-7 games. So it's not a fluke. They're back to back again. And until somebody proves otherwise, I go with the Royals.
It's a great story too when you think about it. All the years they were down, and the fans had kind of given up on them, and it had been almost a 30-year period of just mediocrity and ineptitude. And now the last.
Wait a second. 30-year period of mediocrity and ineptitude. I take offense that you're talking about my career.
I was actually talking about my career. Yeah, don't worry about it, Steve. I was talking about my career, which,
No.
yeah.
Well, I thought it was kind of a fluke a couple of years ago when the Oakland A's just handed the wild card to them.
That was a strange game.
Yeah.
And you talk about a team that's gone from the near penthouse to the outhouse, and now the A's are kind of an intriguing team themselves because no high expectations there, but they've got some good pieces. Are they going to be a team that's a little better than mediocre this year? Are they going to be a challenger? What do you think?
I think the A's right now, I would say, are probably about a 5. Again, I don't think the college education on that, but I think what they've got, they certainly strengthened their bullpen. Their offense probably a little bit better. I'm a little skeptical of their starting pitching, and they've got a lot of different possibilities. Bob Melvin's very good at pitching and matching in the outfield and in the infield, but sometimes you like to be able to say we're going to run these 8, 9, 10 guys kind of designated they're out there every day, and I don't think the A's have a solid 6 or 7 guys who know are going to be out there every day. So.
You keep mentioning about the not betting the college education. My bookie is sitting outside going, well, what am I going to bet?
I would bet on a nice day tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Be in the ocean.
There you go. Definitely, that's a sure thing. How about the Yankees and the Red Sox? Everybody from New York and Boston and New England, those are the two teams that have had the great rivalry. But the Red Sox have been down for a little bit, and now the Yankees, they've been knocking on the door for a while. They just don't seem to have enough pitching. What about this year?
Yeah. Hey, Steve,
Oh.
can you answer that question when we come back? We'll just keep you on for like one more minute.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Sorry. We have to
Oh, that's right. We've got got the hard break coming up.
Yeah, hard break coming
Yeah.
up. Okay. Here's our next trivia question. Who shared World Amateur Baseball Championship with the USA in 1973? So it was shared. All right.
Okay.
First email with the correct answer is going to win that free 3-day 2-night stay at Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question. Who shared the World Baseball Championship with the United States in 1973? Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Thanks, Steve. Sorry, we have this hard break. Just keep you on for a minute, and then we'll let you go.
Hey, really appreciate you being
really
on today,
appreciate it.
Steve. At short notice, too. That's great.
We always have fun here.
Yeah. So is the game at St. Mary's tonight or down at Santa Clara? Okay, good. Yeah. That's always a fun rivalry. Those two teams get together, the schools and what do they, that place packs about, 3,500, 4,000?
Exactly, 3,500.
That's nice. Well, that'll be the game to watch tonight. Have to check it out.
Now UCLA is 6, and USC Stanford at 8, and Santa Clara today.
Okay. Boy, Stanford is not very good this year. I thought they were going to be better. I'm sort of disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't going to do that, but they lost two of the best players.
Yeah.
That was like about 15, especially now that Cartwright had an awful arm.
I remember that. Yeah, that's too bad.
Okay, tell you what, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
We'll answer the question, and then you can ask Steve
Gotcha.
the question about the Yankees, and then we'll let him go.
Yeah, gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks again, Steve. Appreciate it. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Here's our second trivia question. Who shared the World Amateur Baseball Championship with the United States in 1973?
Now, this is before the Olympics, before Olympic baseball, because I think, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, Olympic baseball first started in 1984, I think it was?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. So any idea there? I can't, maybe.
Which country did this go out because it's Japan?
No.
Dominican Republic?
No, but you're getting close with Dominican.
Cuba?
Yes.
Ah, there you
Cuba.
go. Yeah,
All
Cuba's
right, so
producing great
you want
players.
to ask Steve our last question?
Yeah, I was going to ask him about Boston and New York because last year, of course, the last couple of years, the Red Sox they've been kind of in a funk for a while, and the Yankees just don't seem to have enough pitching. But then again, I mean, both teams have the resources. How do you see, the outlook for 2016 with both the Yankees and the Red Sox?
They're certainly mentioned resources. It's nice to see teams that don't get much national play. People can find a free agent every now and then. But, the Red Sox signed David Price. I think they're in the mix. The Yankees, I think with Joe Girardi in the last couple of years, really amazing to keep them in the race most of the time. I mean, people have thought the Yankees in the past, but they have not had nominating teams. And I think Girardi's done a great job in the race the last couple of years. The AL East, the Orioles have been kind of up and down. Tampa, that kind of on a shoestring in relative terms. So I think the Yankees and Red Sox are in the mix. But again, if we're going to have these teams to beat in the American League, I still would go for the West.
Well, it's going to be a fun season this year. We look forward to seeing you out at the ballpark, and thanks so much for joining us, Steve. It was really fun.
And don't forget, I am betting the college education now on your latest prediction.
Good. I appreciate that. And I hope the college is Kroner University.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, Steve, thanks so much, man. Good talking to you, buddy.
Really
All right,
appreciate
that is Steve Kroner, sports writer for the San Francisco Chronicle, covers college basketball and Major League Baseball. That's kind of a nice beat to have, and I've known Steve for a long time. Good guy. It's an interesting story about him, Edward. He worked as a producer in television, producing the nightly sports for many, many years with the local CBS affiliate in San Francisco. And then they had a change in management, and Steve lost his job, but a very creative guy and a good writer managed to hook on with the Chronicle, which has been the #1 paper in Northern California for a while. He's been there for, it's been about 12, 15 years, so he's doing a great job over there.
I wonder with the internet and a lot of these, even newspapers going online.
Oh, yeah.
How that's really affected, their job.
It's been tough. It's one thing I will say about the newspaper industry, even though it's taken a huge hit and they were late to come to the 21st century media and go online and get that advertising, there are still approximately 40 to 50 million regular readers in this country. Now that's only about 1 out of every 7 Americans, but it's a sizable chunk of people that still read the newspaper. Granted, most of them are our age, over 50, but it is a great source. If you don't want to have to go online, you can just grab a paper, your local paper, and you get most of what you need to know, not only in the news section, but in the sports page. And I know it's just an old habit. I like to go online once in a while. There's some great websites, Edward, but I'm more of an old school guy. I prefer the newspaper. I mean, I've even got my Chronicle here in my pocket. I'll pull it out and just check the standings, check the statistics. It's got everything I need.
Also, you don't have to worry about the computer going down.
Yeah,
Of course, the thing is, guys like you and me, we didn't need calculators either. Nowadays, you go to cashiers and they can't add 2 and 2 without having the computer or a calculator handy.
Well, and another thing, radio. We're on radio right now, and radio is the only medium, and I don't want to get off on a tangent about this, but think about this. It's the only medium that is still free. The internet's not free. Newspapers you have to buy. They're getting to be more expensive. Magazines, of course, are not free. And television now, basically everything that you want to watch on television that's revolving around sports is on cable, so you have to pay for it. But radio, all you have to do is turn on your car radio, and you can listen to the game. You can listen to the old sports station in your town, and it's still free. So I, of course, have worked most of my life in radio, so I'm prejudice towards radio. So there you go.
And I guess the idea of the internet is not free is because you have to either A, buy a computer, or B, pay for like Comcast or something to get on.
Or a smartphone, which is a great tool to have. I mean, smartphones are amazing. The amount of versatility they have. You know, what you can film, what you can record, what you can store. It's apparently going to be even more intricate as we move further into the 21st century. You know, these smartphones today are going to be primitive in 10 years. And I hand my smartphone to my daughter sometimes, and I have a little problem with it. She's 11 years old. She figures it out in 2 minutes. But they grow up with this stuff, you know? You and I, when we were kids, I mean, I was in my 40s when I had to suddenly convert to working with computers at the radio station. This is in the late 1990s, about 1998. And it wasn't that difficult, but it was strange. It was like, wow, what about the typewriter? Well, actually, it's a lot nicer to go on the word processor than the typewriter.
Yeah, with ranking mistakes.
Oh,
I
my
remember
God.
the old IBM 39 punch cards.
Yeah.
You know, in the late 70s.
Oh.
I remember learning Fortran and COBOL and all that stuff.
No, thank you. You know, I don't miss that at all. I don't miss that at all. And you save on paper, too. So.
You know, and also, sometimes I go, let's say, Yahoo Sports.
Yeah.
I kind of look at some stuff, and sometimes the stories are interesting, but what I really enjoy reading are the comments that people make. And some of these comments are actually really good.
Well, that's one of the things about the internet too that's fun is you have blogs and you have Twitter and you have people with their Facebook accounts and everybody is checking in. It's almost like a talk show on the radio when people are calling in. Only it's a little more even more spontaneous.
Well, you know, some of these guys have blogs where I guess if they have enough of a following, they can influence, or maybe they can actually turn it into a job. Sort of like, I guess if you get enough hits on YouTube, views, you can actually start to get paid for the advertising. And I'm wondering for sports, I mean, there's got to be people who are writing for sports the same thing, right?
There are plenty of people that do that, and there's some that do these things. They don't get paid, but they're slowly developing some traction. For instance, just as an example, I love to write, and I do a little freelance writing on the side, but I go on my Facebook page, and usually once or twice a day I'll write a little sports story. Usually it's locally oriented, but I've got about 4,500 friends, and I'm not sure how many of them are checking in. Probably a couple of hundred are checking in, but I do it just for the fun of it. I love to write, and the great thing about Facebook is you have that community bulletin board where people will react to, especially, what's interesting? They react more to political comments than anything else. Sports kind of there is close, but not as close as political. People get really, hot and bothered about politics. They get their fur flying,
Well, I got to say, like Fritz Peterson does. He does a great job.
He does
posting, pictures of old baseball cards or photos.
Yeah.
A little comment. Usually it's unfortunately because somebody passed, or there's been like a anniversary of famous home run or something, and it's really enjoyable, especially other comments of people who remember these things.
Oh yeah. Well, and for those that don't know who Fritz Peterson is, Fritz pitched for the Yankees. Came up when the Yankees just started to go downhill in the mid '60s, and pitched to the mid '70s. And he's sort of an unofficial historian for that era. And whenever there's a guy celebrating a birthday or a guy that he got a big hit off of, maybe he couldn't get somebody out, he'll tell a little story about it and post a photograph, usually a baseball card photograph, which is kind of fun.
Yeah,
those are neat. I love that.
But I know we kind of teased him a little bit about his claim to fame about the wife swapping, but he actually had if I remember correctly, he had the record for the best home record of pitchers at Yankee Stadium.
Isn't that amazing? And that was during an era when the Yankees were not very good. Between 1965 and 1976 or 77, they didn't win anything. I mean, they were respectable a couple of years, but the Horace Clarke, era. Roy White was a good player, but Horace Clarke was not a bad shortstop, but he was on so many bad teams, and the Yankees in 1966 finished last, and just 2 years before they had been taking the St. Louis Cardinals to the 7th game of the World Series. So it shows you how quickly things can go south in any sport, even with a team like the Yankees.
Okay, we got a couple more minutes before we have to cut to break. Anything you want to cover?
Well, I'm looking forward to spring training. I mean, I've been down to it half a dozen times. I know you are planning on going down. Do you usually catch 2 or 3 games when you go down?
I'll probably catch 2.
Yeah.
2 games, yeah. It's always kind of fun to go to Scottsdale Stadium.
Yeah, that's a nice stadium.
The thing I like about it is that even if you are with opposing fans, it's just such a party atmosphere.
Well, it's not. Nobody takes it too seriously because it's exhibition, but it kind of gears you up and gets you in the mode, or in the mood, I should say, for the baseball season, the long marathon, which begins in April and doesn't finish until late October. And again, if you like baseball as we do, and you grow up with the game, it's one of those sports you don't have to follow it fervently, but you can get into it for a week or two and then kind of back off and watch the game maybe once every other day. But once you get into August to September, if you got a team in the race, oh, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the weather's always good.
Usually, not always, but usually, yeah. I mean, we were spoiled out here on the West Coast. We don't get the rainouts that they have back in.
Well,
the
no,
West.
I'm talking about for spring.
Oh, for spring training. Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
always,
my
always
gosh.
really good there.
Yeah, down in Arizona, or if you go to Florida, it's pretty nice down there too. So,
and I got to think Florida's the same way, where it's so good you can get so close to the players.
That I think is the important thing, is the fans have that access, and the players are more relaxed. They're not as, in terms of dealing with the media, they're a lot more friendly, but also they're a lot more available to reach out to the fans, and that's what I think makes baseball special, is that there is that connection with the players and the fans. Yeah.
Got another minute or so. Give us one of your fun stories.
Well, one of my fun stories from spring training baseball is I was sitting in the press box one night covering a game. It was one of those night games, and there was this big African American fellow sitting next to me who was just talking a blue streak, kind of like I am. And it turned out to be Joe Black, who had pitched with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Oh, wow.
Back in the day. He was one of Jackie Robinson's teammates, one of the first African American players to play in the major leagues. And Joe was telling all sorts of stories about the Brooklyn Dodgers and about how he enjoyed living in Arizona and going to spring training. A big, enormous guy. He'd always been a sort of a tall, husky guy, but he put on a lot of weight. And I did an interview with him sort of spontaneously, and we talked about what it was like playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And he said the brotherhood of that team was unique because it was the first team that integrated Major League Baseball, and it was a special time in the early 1950s. And there was something special about that community and those players. They connected, and I think even today, you talk to people in their 70s that grew up in Brooklyn, going to Ebbets Field, and they'll tell you that they just, had such a strong feeling for that team, and it was so hard when that
Them
team.
bums.
Yeah, them bums, and they only won one World Series championship,
1955.
1955. But they were in the World Series almost every year, or in the pennant race almost every year. When they moved to Los Angeles, it kind of tore the heart out of Brooklyn. It really did. I think the Giants moving was tough, but not as tough as the Dodgers leaving Brooklyn. There was they were tied into that community, and let's face it, Brooklyn is not the glamorous part of New York. So you're taking away one of the
Staples.
indispensable parts of that city, and they've never had a team since.
Yeah, my dad was a big Brooklyn.
Oh, is that right?
Fan. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He hated the Yankees. Didn't really have one way or the other about the Giants.
Well, and I think with Brooklyn, you had a lot of unique personalities there. I mean, you obviously had Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese and Duke Snider and Gil Hodges and Roy Campanella and Billy Cox. I mean, it was just a distinct bunch of personalities and guys that loved to play the game the right way and play together as a team. And you don't see that too often in sports. We're seeing it in the NBA with the Golden State Warriors this year. And I think a lot of teams, Edward, are sort of trying to copy what the Warriors are doing.
Yeah. Don't forget Pee Wee Reese.
There you go.
Okay.
I mentioned it, didn't I?
Did you?
I think
Duke Snider too, right?
Duke Snider,
Okay,
yeah. I got to know Duke Snider actually.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Wow,
nice fellow.
Okay, we're going to cut to our last commercial break here. To the nearest 1,000, how many rides did the legendary Willie Shoemaker
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So we had a couple of horsey questions this
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
All right, so email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to that question. To the nearest 1,000, how many rides did the legendary Willie Shoemaker take? Not how many did win, how many did he take? All right,
How many mounts did he?
How many?
Yeah.
Many mounts. There you go.
Yeah.
This is a clean show.
There you go.
That's right, mountain horse.
Yeah.
Okay, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments.
Good deal. That's funny. I remember hearing about that somewhere. I think it was close to 4,000. Might have been. I figured it out the other day. I've been out in the water probably about 2,500 times. But that goes back to when I was a kid. But since 1982, it's
So
about
for 7 years, you've been in the water.
yeah, that's true. Every day. Oh, today was so good. Today I did not want to get out of the water, but I was exhausted. The first 15 minutes I was exhausted because there was this incoming tide. This huge set of waves kept coming in and pushing me back and pushing me back into the channel. And I was thinking, God, I'm not going to be able to get out to the waves. And I'm tired, and I finally got out there, and it was just so nice, Such a good thing to get out there.
You know, on a non-Thursday, I'd like to come out with you sometime.
Yeah, yeah. Just hang out at the beach and enjoy it.
I used to have a wetsuit. Where it is now.
I was going to go to Drake's Beach today, but I'm glad I went to Bolinas. Drake's is just too far.
That's really far.
Yeah, it is. It's 38 miles away.
Lipitor's nice, but that's pretty far away too.
It is, but Lipitor doesn't have many good waves, but not very often.
Cronkite sometimes.
Cronkite has excellent waves, but it's a shore break. So if it breaks big, you can get really munched in that place.
Especially it's all pebbly.
Yeah.
All right, ready? Here we go. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, and Bruce McGowan is my co-host. Third final trivia question. To the nearest 1,000, how many rides did the legendary Willie Shoemaker take?
I think it was close to 4,000.
10 times that.
What?
40,000.
Are you serious? Well, you think about it now.
Because you do run more than one a day.
That's
right?
true. That's true. I didn't.
Is that 40,000 times?
Jeez.
He must be saddle sore.
Whew. Well, he got hurt in a auto wreck and was the last 10 years of his life, I believe, he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Which is very sad.
Like Roy Campanella.
Yeah, we were mentioning the Dodgers. Yeah, Roy Campanella, last 20, 30 years of his life was in a wheelchair. Auto wreck. Yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so here's our thoughts for the day. This is from George Bernard Shaw said this. When a man wants to murder a tiger, it's called sport. When the tiger wants to murder him, it's called ferocity.
Mm. I like that.
And journalist Brian Williams said, "You're only as good as the coach thinks you are." It's funny, we were talking about like Tim Lincecum.
That's true.
Right? It's like he may think he's as good as a starter, but if the coach don't think so, and coach is a pretty good coach.
Pretty good evaluator of talent. So we'll see what happens with Tim Lincecum.
So let's see here. We want to thank again. I know he's not on the air right now, but Steve Kroner from the San Francisco Chronicle. Thank you for giving us our time, and of course my favorite co-host, Bruce McGowan.
It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Let's see. Next time again, don't forget taking in the water with you.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the water?
I've been out surfing probably about 2,500 times in my life.
7 years in the water.
Yeah, that's about the equivalent.
What's that raisin skin by now?
Well, my dad got me into the little surf mats back when I was 4 or 5 years old, and it's just
Stuck with you?
Yeah, stuck with it. Yeah.
All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective, giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
All right, that's a take.
That's a take.
That's a take.
Oh, that's a take.
That's a spicy meatball.
You see that movie, The Mask?